Hey everyone, Jeff here from Films at Home. Thanks for coming back to the podcast today. Whether you're on YouTube watching along or you're on your favorite podcast app listening, I appreciate it. Now, as always, this is available in both audio format, but also on YouTube at Films at Home on my YouTube channel. So if you want the video version of these interviews and podcasts, you can get them there. And if you're on YouTube right now, if you want to just listen to something on your ride to work or in your commute, you can download the audio version as well, Spotify, Apple, wherever you find your podcasts. So in today's episode, we are interviewing Eric D. Wilkinson from MVD Entertainment. Eric is a pretty big name in home entertainment. He's been working in MVD for a while, and he has helped launch the MVD Rewind collection, which is a collection of sort of forgotten, lost, not necessarily lost movies, but movies that maybe haven't gotten attention since the days of VHS or DVD, and he's releasing them on Blu-ray with some really cool artwork that calls back to those video store days with some even stickers on the artwork and things like that. It's a very cool label. You may also know the MVD visual line. They've put out a lot of different movies, documentaries, and music over the years, and MVD Entertainment is also the United States distributor for Arrow Video. So if you've been to their website mvdshop.com, you've probably seen some Arrow Video stuff there, as well as all of the MVD stuff. Now, Eric is not only a home entertainment producer, but he is actually a writer and director himself. His biggest movie you guys probably might know is The Man from Earth, which is a great sci-fi movie, but he's also produced lots of other stuff that we'll talk about in the interview. So he loves movies. He's been around movies forever. He started working in a video store, and then he just worked his way up through different companies to get to MVD. And, he has his hands in a lot of different releases. He is doing acquisitions. He's buying the rights for movies. He has some really good insight into how all of that works in this home entertainment industry. And he's a collector himself, which is the best part. He's got over 10,000 movies in his collection. So he blows my collection away, a massive, massive collection of movies. And he's just a really cool guy to talk to. He knows everything about movies. He knows everything about home entertainment. And he just has some really good insights. So I think you guys will enjoy the interview. So sit back, relax, enjoy the interview, and I will talk to you when we finish up. All right, everyone, here we are in our interview with Eric Wilkinson from MVD Home Entertainment. And that's not all he does. I should say there's a lot more there. He's producer, writer. He's worked on movies and works in the home entertainment business, as well as music and physical media and home video and on demand. I mean, this guy does a whole bunch of stuff with MVD and his own personal projects. So super excited to have him on the podcast today, and I appreciate him coming on. I know it's crazy busy when you work at some of these small independent labels, and it can get crazy. So I appreciate every minute we get to spend with you and of your time. Much appreciated. So if you want to just give a quick introduction to the audience on who you are, what you do, some of your background, so they can, hear from the man himself rather than me.
My name's Eric D. Wilkinson. That's my professional name. Apparently on IMDb, there's like a bunch of Eric Wilkinsons in the entertainment business. So I've never heard of them, but, I fell in love with movies as a kid, specifically home video. Lived at a video store, and I made it my life's quest to work in the movie business in some fashion. I don't know. I've been fortunate that home video is my first love and will always be, like my top priority. I've been fortunate enough to produce a few movies, but, if given the choice between writing and producing a film or making a special edition of a Blu-ray or a movie from the 70s, 80s, or 90s, I'd pick that. So,
and you're quite the collector yourself, right? I know I think you've got a bigger collection than I have, if I remember right.
At about 10,000 discs.
Yeah.
At this point, it's about 50-50 between Blu-ray and DVD. 4K, I don't know. I think I have a couple hundred 4Ks, but I don't know how you feel about 4K. I do love it. I don't see myself rebuying everything. It's got to be a movie that's worth upgrading to 4K. My favorite of all the formats, especially since the advent of DVD and Blu-ray, is the Blu-ray 3D. I don't know how you feel about that. I love that. I'm so sorry to see it sort of peter out at this point, but you know, if given the choice between 4K or Blu-ray 3D, I would take Blu-ray 3D, but that's just me.
That's interesting because I know that there are some hardcore 3D collectors out there. I was one myself. I have a 3D TV. I've got the
Yeah.
glasses. I have quite a few releases, but yeah, they've definitely like totally dropped off.
Yeah.
Which is why I find myself buying more 4K. But I mean, you're right. Not everything really. You know, do you have to upgrade everything? Probably not. That's kind of
I
my
don't
whole
think
thing
so.
on my channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
like,
I think it depends on the movie. You know what I mean? And
right.
also depends on the movie and the price. So, you know, like, I don't know. I keep looking at Best Buy because I live on Bluray.com and I'm like eyeing up Speed on 4K. And I'm like, if that drops below $10, I'll buy it. You know, if it's cheap, I might upgrade. Or if the Blu-ray transfer, if you know, some of those Blu-ray transfers are pretty crappy, especially the ones early on. You know, if I know it's a new, obviously if it's a 4K and it's a new transfer, you know, I'll upgrade. But, you know, the middle of the road movies, the comedies, the dramas, I don't feel compelled to run out and upgrade them. But, you know, if they're $5, I'd upgrade a drama or a comedy.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. I've seen some movies come on 4K, and I'm just like, why? You know, what's the point, really? You know, I want 2001: A Space Odyssey on 4K, and I want Jaws on 4K. It's my favorite movie. But yeah, some of the ones that have been coming out,
yeah, like The Godfather, I'm happy to rebuy on 4K.
Yes,
you know, it's something I revisit every so often. I want the absolute best quality. You know, that's something on 4K. Would I put Final Justice out on 4K? I would not.
Right. And that's something I talk about it a lot with collectors, and they're so dead set on, like, now that 4K is out, they're like, well, I only buy 4K. And I'm like, well, then you're going to miss 98% of the great stuff that's coming out because, like, you know, the MVD Rewind label, huge, but it's going to be Blu-ray, right? Most likely. I mean,
most likely
those are coming to 4K.
I'm working on several 4K releases.
Cool.
And I don't know if they're going to be. I'm not going to rewind them. I'm going to keep the rewind stuff like this, but with 4K, the 4K releases, they'll have all the features. If any of the titles, actually, the titles that I'm announcing first aren't titles that I've put out on Blu-ray already.
Okay.
But you know, when we go back, and I might revisit some of the titles we put out in the Rewind collection on 4K. But I think I want the 4K packaging to be 4K packaging for those. I don't think they need fake stickers and you know, that beat up you know, rental look on a 4K package. It's going to be a little more traditional, but I am very partial to original art, and I will always use, you know, it's either a toss up between the theatrical or the home video art. You know, I'm not one that tries to reimagine something. You know, I'm really into, you know, I like nostalgia, and I think other people and other collectors I think part of the reason why some people like it's not the main reason, but I'm sure some people, there's a familiarity with the look and feel of what we do, and nostalgia plays a big part of that. You know, it's almost like, look, we can't go back to our childhoods, but if you're like me and you're a collector, I'm going to buy as much of it back as I possibly can.
Oh, that's totally why, and that's why I love them, because it reminds you of browsing that Blockbuster or the local video store, and that is the nostalgia for me. Even, you know, I wasn't alive for maybe the heyday of it. I missed the 80s in the home video, but I got most of the 90s, and I mean, definitely is nostalgia. That's how this collection.
What year did you graduate high school? What year did you graduate?
2011.
2011, man, yeah. I'm trying to think, maybe the very tail end of Blockbuster. You know, you got it right in under the wire. I'd say that, but it was pretty. You know, I'm not one to I don't talk about my age, but you know, I'm older than you, but I will say this: just, you know, the 80s and 90s, and just going through the aisles of a video store. There's just something. I know if you're younger, you're not going to get the same feeling going through a Netflix menu as you are going through the aisle of a video store and just pulling that tape off the shelf and discovering it, something new for the first time that you'd never heard of because it had great artwork. And then you take the movie home and it's kind of shitty, but you still enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah, no, I sort of, we had a Blockbuster in my hometown, I want to say until 2008. It lasted a while. So it was, it was there.
You got in on the tail end. You got a few good years.
Yeah.
And, I was never a video store snob, and I like the chains and I like the independent stores. There was something good about them both.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I loved about the chains, especially back then, is that, back in the 80s, you had to reserve the new release. You'd literally call the video store on a Tuesday was new release day, or actually back in the 80s, it was Thursday was new release day. And you'd have to call in advance to reserve your movie. And if you didn't get that reservation in, you sometimes waited weeks to see, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels because it was just out all the time. And the thing that I did like that Blockbuster and Hollywood and some level West Coast Video, the things I liked that they brought copy depth into it. So when that new movie was out that you didn't go see in the theater, you'd go there and there'd be a wall of it. You were pretty much guaranteed to get a copy of it. And I like that too. Yeah, no,
I did. I basically got in. VHS was kind of on its way out. DVD was in, but I mean, I have distinct memories though of going as even as a 5-year-old and getting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles VHS cartoons and Batman the Animated Series and that. I mean, that was it. That was childhood. That was every week we were grabbing something new, and I missed that. I missed that when Blockbuster left for video games, for movies, for music. I mean, everything. It just all changed, and the nostalgia is definitely why I collect.
Yeah, I think. Listen, again, I don't want to sound like the old man yelling at the cloud, but I don't know what I was going to say now. I am acting like the old man. I think that experience, it can't be replicated. Like I said, you can't. There's going to be nothing nostalgic about going through a Netflix menu. Oh, do you remember when Greenberg was? Remember when the Greenberg was in the comedy section on the Netflix menu? No one's going to say that. Although I just said it, but
well, you're the first.
Yeah, I was the first. But I mean, there's just something about it, and I don't know. Do you collect VHS now or no? Are you a collector? Because I see it's becoming a thing now, and it's funny. I either threw out or sold off, my VHS, and now if I'm at a flea market or if I'm at a thrift store or a Goodwill, and I see a VHS of a movie from back then, I find myself buying them again. I started stacking them up. My wife's going to kill me. I'm going to start, I'm stacking them up now. I don't know. There's comfort in nostalgia. And I guess, in the times, how crazy they are now, to be surrounded by things, I have a basement full of pop culture. I have the basement I would have had if I was 16 years old. And it's full of pop culture and records. And I'm looking at, I have an 8-track player and a cassette player. And I got, I'm not big on pop figurines, but I got action figures and VHS tapes and, collectibles all over. It's just, there's something comforting about being surrounded by things that just, even though I'm older, remind me of my youth. And that's why I take great pride and love in bringing some of these movies back. And they're not all classics, but I also do the acquisitions. And with each film, there's something with every film I've put out, there's something probably about it to me that I hope other people see in it what I see in it. There's always I can look at any one of the titles that I've put out, and I probably have a story to tell about either the first time I saw it or the first time I came in contact with that film. And there's something about what, I need to put this back out again. And every once in a while, there's a couple of titles probably I'm looking at it. There's a couple. There might be 1 or 2 titles like DOA. I didn't have any emotional connection to that. But at the same time, it's funny. There's 2 reasons why DOA was number 1 in the Rewind collection. The first reason was MVD music video distributors. Started as a company distributing music videos and concerts on VHS tapes, hence the MVD. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to put a music-based title out first in the Rewind collection. But the other reason, and you're going to laugh at this, was, did you ever see the movie Neighbors with John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd?
Yeah.
Okay, so on the woman that plays John Belushi's daughter, on her bedroom wall is a DOA poster. And Neighbors was the first R-rated movie I ever saw in the theater. So I guess there is an emotional connection to that. I saw that the original artwork, which I was adamant about putting on the front of it. And, there's each, like I said, each movie has a story to tell.
Yeah, and that is what I love about the MVD Rewind label. And, there's a couple other labels that have been doing it too, but it's almost like bringing these movies back to life, because so many of them have been, they haven't been forgotten by everybody, but if you don't get them out on Blu-ray, when's the last time they had a proper release? It could have been 20 years. I mean, you don't want to lose them to time. And that's why I love, and why I still say, like, Blu-ray is so important. Like, you're not going to get all these movies on 4K, so don't deny buying them just because they're not on 4K. Like, it's still Blu-ray, it's still 1080, they still look great. Like, you're going to enjoy it, and then you get these movies in HD, which would have been, I don't know, it feels like it would have been impossible to even do, like, 10 years ago. Nobody would have done this stuff. There's a lot more boutique stuff coming out now, I feel like, and it's really had a resurgence, which is awesome.
And that's why I bring some of them back. I mean, nothing drives me. I know some people online and on our social media pages or in Bluray.com. I guess I feel bad when I see complaints about, oh, that was already out already, or they're bringing it back. But like when I see a title say like Miami Blues and it's like out of print from Shout Factory, and the Shout Factory Blu-ray selling for $80, $90. I mean, I feel bad about that. I feel bad that this is a movie that should be out. And like Vampire's Kiss was another one. It was a double feature. I can't speak for all collectors. I don't mind a double feature if they're if they're mediocre movies, but like Vampire's Kiss is good enough to have its own release. So I wanted to bring it back in its own release with, the original artwork, being the only artwork on the cover. With some of the titles I've re-released because I think there are collectors that didn't get it the first time around for whatever reason, or maybe they're newer collectors. So, right. A movie, it drives me nuts when I realize, out of 10,000 movies, there's one I want that's not in my collection. And I have to go to eBay only to find that it's hundreds of dollars. And I that's why I try to bring some of them back if at all possible.
Yeah, no, it's great because it's like, it becomes prohibitive. I mean, people will do it. They spend $90. I've got a whole video about this on YouTube about how I tell people, like, if you want to sell them for $90, go make your money, but don't be the guy buying them for $90. Like, you know how many movies you can get for $90?
I think the same way, man. I mean, I think the same way. It's why I don't go to casinos and gamble, and I don't go to strip bars, because I think about, I think about all the movies I could spend on the money that would be wasted in those places.
Right. Yeah. Right? So I always tell people, just wait. If it's a good enough movie, if it has enough of a following, it'll get re-released. These rights get passed around. People pick them up, and, a label like yours can put them out, and, you'll have a reasonable option.
Even more so, and this is the collector in me talking, there's nothing more fun than going to a flea market or going to a pawn shop on that out-of-print movie, which you could buy on eBay for some ridiculous price, and finding it in a pawn shop for $3. That is just like awesome. I mean, that's the one thing I'll say that for me, thrift stores, flea markets, and pawn shops have taken the place for me for video stores, for just finding and discovering stuff. I'll buy something for 50 cents on a DVD that I've never heard, like, because it's dirt cheap, or a Dollar Tree. There's always some interesting titles in Dollar Tree that I'll try out because they're cheap and it's fun, but finding an out of print movie you've been searching for in a pawn shop or a flea market, and that's like the greatest feeling ever.
Yeah, it's no, that is my go-to place too. Because I mean, at a certain point, you have 10,000 movies. I probably got like 3,500. At a certain point, you walk into Best Buy and you have everything that's on the shelf because they just have mainstream stuff for the
Yeah,
most part. And it's like
I don't even
you
go to
can't,
Best Buy anymore.
right? I don't either. You can't browse those places when you have a collection that's as large as this. So I do the same thing. I've gone to Goodwill and found Criterion Blu-ray for $2, and
Oh,
I
it's
I
great.
walk out of there, yeah, the biggest smile on my face. I found Dawn of the Dead on Blu-ray when that was out of print
Yeah,
before
it's
they
great.
kind of. I got that for like $1 at a Salvation Army or something, and it is cool because like I guess it's sad that people are dumping collections at these places, but at the same time, if you're a collector, it's awesome to go through
Yeah,
everybody else's stuff because there's so much undiscovered in DVD. I mean, there's tens of thousands of DVDs that never are going to make it to Blu-ray, and that's why I don't put down that format either.
and they're
It's
gonna
still
go.
viable.
Listen, they're gonna eventually they're gonna go out of print. There are some
Yeah,
companies. I mean, listen, it's going. We all know digital's the thing, and I certainly hope. Not just because it's my business, but just as a collector, I certainly hope that there's enough collectors out there that will keep the format, like that will keep the format alive and big enough that studios will continue to release their catalog on disc. But at the same time, while that's happening now, like I try to I go out and I support Kino Lorber, and I support, like, especially, like, I love the stuff that Paramount's doing lately. I go out and I support those, you know what I mean?
yeah,
I The Vestron Video Collector Series, which I had an uncredited hand in helping bring to fruition.
really.
And if you
That
look
one's
at
very cool.
Yeah, if you look at the packaging for that, and then you look at if there's any similarities between the Rewind packaging and that, it's because I was involved in some level with both. But
That makes sense.
but I
I
bought
can
the other
see
day.
that.
I was at Walmart and I didn't have Dream a Little Dream on Blu-ray. They had it for $12.96. I said it's cheap enough. I'm going to buy it. I want to support that
Yeah,
because I want them
yeah.
to keep releasing that. I mean, I just saw, I think tomorrow, Extreme Prejudice comes out. Now I imported that.
Hmm.
I bought an import of that, but I'm absolutely going to buy the U.S. version because I love the packaging and I want to make sure that Lionsgate keeps supporting that brand.
Yeah, it's very cool what you're seeing even with the major labels, I guess. You said the boutique guys are doing really well, and then you see Paramount do like Paramount Presents.
Yeah,
I like that. Lionsgate doing Vestron. I would love to see more of that because they are kind of releasing these underappreciated movies sometimes, and ones that haven't had a Blu-ray release after 15 years of the format that
yeah.
could easily be lost. And yeah, I try to support them too because those are my favorite kind of releases. I can buy Spider-Man on any given day for whatever $5
I
on
have not
eBay.
bought the new Spider-Man yet. And do you do this because you're a collector? So there are movies that I don't buy right away, and I literally wait until Black Friday. I have a Black Friday list already. Like, I'm like, you know what? I don't need the Kingsman yet. I know that's going to be like $6.99 or $7.99 on Black Friday. I'm going to wait to buy. There are some titles I wait to buy.
Yeah, no, I do it. I do it every year. I have a Black Friday, and then my family, my brothers, my parents, since they know that that's what I do, they're like, "Well, you have so many, you have to
No,
tell us which ones you
Amazon
don't
wish
have."
list is the way to go. Do you have an
Right.
Amazon wish list? Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Yep. So
It's
I
full of
send that to them, and
Blu-rays.
my brother's always like, "Man, you have the weirdest movies on this list." Like I think this last
I get
year
the same thing.
he
They're
bought
like,
me like
really?
yeah,
Airborne?
I think he got me Orca from Shout Factory, and
Oh,
he
it's
got me the
great.
Nicolas Cage movie Pig, and he was like, "What are these movies you're watching?" And I was like, "Don't worry about it. This is my list. These are the
Orca's a
weird ones
Jaws
that
ripoff, and Pig is Nicolas Cage.
which
Come
I
on.
love."
Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage has his own section in my library. Although my stuff's
Oh,
not very organized.
I haven't seen his new movie, but I've heard it's
It's
great.
great.
And
I
yeah.
took my son to see it last week. It's
Ah.
a lot of fun. It's a lot. I think that's one I might not be able to wait till Black Friday because I want to see it again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do that though. I have the Black Friday list, and then I have like the I guess the boutique list sort of becomes the Christmas list. I know those probably aren't going to go on sale, so
Yeah,
I
they're
say,
not
well,
always
here's a couple
cheaper.
of yeah, here's a couple $15, $20 titles I want, and my brothers will pick them up. So that's how I
Yeah, those
that's
go
how
on
I
my
keep it
Amazon
going.
wish list. The ones that never really go on sale,
Yeah.
so, but
Yep. No, I'm very much the same way. You got to pick and choose, but those are the ones I want to support are those smaller label releases where I know Spider-Man's going to sell fine if I don't buy it on the first
yeah,
day. But I'm worried that if I don't buy the Vestron or the MVD or even like the Arrow Video stuff, are they going to keep doing this if they don't get the sales up front? It could be hard. They don't have the backing that a Paramount has or Sony has. So, I tend to usually my Black Friday list is like major studio big time releases that I know I'm going to get for $5.
yeah, yeah. I would say the difference. I'd say the one difference between what I do at MVD, and I don't want to take anything away from any of the other labels and how they approach their business, but the
Sure.
one thing that anybody that remotely knows me or follows our social media page and they know I post up there, sometimes I do live videos, is like I am every bit the collector and fan of this stuff as they are, as you are. Like I just really, really have a passion for it. I always look at it like it's like you can rest assured as a collector that somebody like you is doing this, and I try my best to put enough bonus features or do whatever I can to make it so I try to put something out in a way that I would, if I didn't make these, I would absolutely buy these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Each title, there's a lot of TLC that goes into each one of these releases. Sometimes, I pretty much, the reason why I'm not always as active on social media, or we don't make our announcements, like all of a sudden you'll get a bunch at once and then I'll disappear, is because it's me that does the acquisition. I chase it down and I help negotiate the deal, and it's me that has to help bring on, to have the material sent over and oversee it, and I have to oversee the packaging and the authoring, and like I literally do everything from the moment it's acquired to to the moment it shows up in your hand. You know what I mean? So they take a little longer than I
Yeah.
would like. I would ask them to, sometimes I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll ask if they could bring somebody on to help out, but unless they're going to clone me, I don't know if I trust anybody, or if there's details and things that go into these that only a collector would appreciate. And I'd be afraid if anybody else was doing it, they might miss those details.
Yeah, no, and you can tell when there are releases that have not had somebody with a collector mindset involved. And I mean, I've offered it up. I've said to people, because I talk to people at lots of different places, and I said, look, if you want to talk to somebody, like this is your market, this is who you're selling to. Like, don't you want to know? Don't you want to have somebody who is a collector who understands what people want? Because that is probably where this market's headed, right? I mean, it's going to become a niche thing for collectors.
It is. I mean, you're going to have your mainstream titles like your Spider-Mans, but
Sure.
like, a movie like Jack Frost. This is a niche. This is a niche collector piece that only a company like MVD is going to understand and know that there's a market for it. That's going to put the kind of care into a release like this in order to bring it to market. Do I think Disney is going to dig deep into their catalog and start releasing their Touchstone or Hollywood Pictures movies? I don't. I really don't. Will the Jerky Boys, the movie, ever get released on Blu-ray? I have no faith that it ever will. And, I don't begrudge for titles like that. Like if I ever go to an autograph show or like a horror show, and that there's some of the DVD or Blu-ray vendors there that sell, dare I call bootleg discs of movies that aren't out at all, I don't begrudge them. I used to be like, oh, that's piracy. It's piracy. And yeah, I get that. But at the same time, if Disney's not going to release that, then, then I guess fine. I'm going to buy that then.
Yeah.
I'll certainly support a legit release if it comes out. But, I want to own that on disc. And the same thing goes for, there are some of the, my Michael Bay collection is not complete because Netflix made Six Underground and they didn't put it out on disc, so I can't get that on 4K or Blu-ray. And I won't hesitate to buy a bootleg of that if they don't put it out.
Yeah, no, and I've been seeing a lot more of that pop up with streaming and with shows too. Like, people want to own The Mandalorian or WandaVision on disc, and they the people who are selling the bootlegs. I mean, you're right. I am also, as like the collector, I'm like, well, there's piracy, but then there's also the fact that Disney's never going to put that out.
If The Mandalorian or WandaVision was out on Blu-ray, I wouldn't buy the bootleg, even if it was cheap or whatever. And I would, if I saw somebody selling, I'd be like, dude, that's not cool. But you think about it,
they're giving us no other option.
Yeah, but Marvel and Disney have literally since Iron Man came out in 2008 have trained us and got us in the habit of buying all those releases. So we have the complete Marvel universe on disc, and now all of a sudden they're making content for the streamer and not putting it out on disc. It's just like, now my Marvel collection's incomplete,
Right. Yeah.
Same with Star Wars. I mean, I've been
incomplete. Yeah.
Been buying Star Wars since 1980, and I still now there's Star Wars universe stuff that's canon that I can't have on my shelf, so it's all nice and neat next to each other.
And it blows my mind a little bit because if they put out The Mandalorian, some box set with with season 1 and 2, say, I mean, that thing, even all the people that streamed it, I mean, that would sell because Star Wars is Star Wars. Like, it doesn't matter if you have Disney Plus, you're still going to buy it because you're the Star Wars fan who wants to complete their Star Wars collection. And there's no physical ownership of The Mandalorian. It just exists in a cloud somewhere.
I applaud filmmakers like, Martin Scorsese or Noah Baumbach who make movies for streamers. But obviously, I'm assuming they have in their contracts that they get to take them to Criterion. In the case of both of those filmmakers, it's Criterion, and put physical media versions out on those Netflix films. I'm grateful for that. I think I wish more filmmakers would throw their weight around like that and say, "Look, I'll do your Netflix show." Or I'll do your Netflix movie. Like Michael Bay could have easily done that with 6 Underground. And I'm sure Criterion, who put out both Armageddon and The Rock in the past, probably would have agreed to put out 6 Underground.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that. And I've noticed it, but it's almost like you have to be Scorsese, or maybe they don't, I don't know. Are you big enough to ask for that?
Noah Baumbach and Noah Baumbach, I get Scorsese. That's a whole nother thing. But then like Noah Baumbach, he's pretty big, but he's not. He's not Spielberg or Scorsese. Michael Bay certainly seems big enough that he could throw his weight around a little bit. Yeah,
no, it would be good to see, and I do appreciate the directors, the filmmakers that are doing that. And I've seen it with some. I think there's a handful of TV shows that have done that, but it
depends though. There are TV shows. Like, I don't know, like Orange is the New Black was made by Lionsgate, but sold to Netflix exclusively, but they can put this out. If Netflix makes the show, meaning if Netflix is the producer of the show, it's, unless you have a filmmaker like Scorsese, it's not likely that that's going to see the light of day on disc. If it's a show, I'm trying to think of a movie or a show that, say, was made by a studio, but premiered on a streamer, that's a little different. Then you see it.
That's what I was thinking with Paramount.
It's a good example. Without
the Haunting of Hill House and the Bly Manor. God, what's his name? Who did those? Mike Flanagan.
Yes.
So all that stuff's come out on disc. But I guess
it depends on what it is, and how it was made. Yeah. But I can say I do enjoy Adam Sandler movies, but my Adam Sandler collection, even the ones I don't like, I buy because I want a complete collection. And he's made all those movies for Netflix. Not one of them is out on disc. That's disappointing.
I know. Yeah, no, it is. And there's that whole problem. And then there is the whole problem of who's working on those back catalogs at, I guess Paramount's doing a good job with theirs.
Paramount's doing a good job.
Warner does okay and Sony does okay, but like, now you've got Disney scooping up Touchstone, Fox, and all the Disney live
Yeah.
action stuff that's just gone missing.
Yeah, all the
And
20th century.
that hurts.
There's so many movies in the 20th Century Fox catalog that are either have never been released on disc or have gone out of print. Probably aren't coming back for those who didn't get them the first time around. I mean, when I'm out and about, even if I see something I wouldn't normally buy, but especially if I'm at a flea market and it's $1 or $2, I'll pick. If it's cheap, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, and I've been doing that with a lot of Fox Blu-rays and Touchstone Blu-rays. I've been doing it now with MGM stuff because I don't know what their future is.
Well,
been bought up.
The MGM stuff. I mean, right with MGM, I worked for MGM for almost 6 years, so I know people over there. I have friends over at Kino Lorber. I have friends over at Shout Factory. If you what MGM's doing is they are licensing their catalog, at least for now, to independent labels. For that stuff to come out on physical media, with Amazon buying MGM, will that last forever? I don't know. But if you're into collecting and want to, get especially, MGM, Kino Lorber digs a little deeper into the MGM catalog. If you want to get those titles, like now is the time to buy them. The licenses last maybe 3 to 5 years at the most, and if you don't renew, or if they tell us they're not going to renew it, then they're going to be going away.
See, that's interesting. So is that the typical length of time for licenses?
It depends.
3 to 5?
It depends. When you get it from a studio, I mean, like we license from MGM, but 3 to 5. Usually it's 4 to 5 years.
Because people always ask me as if, and I don't have an answer, but
technically everything's limited. I don't call them limited editions, but
right, everything can
technically
expire.
Double Impact on MVD Rewind is a limited edition because eventually that's going to expire. And if Amazon, by the time that does expire with us, Amazon will likely fully own MGM. And if Amazon decides that we want to put our MGM catalog behind our Amazon Prime paywall, that's it. Because Amazon could just MOD those discs. They don't give a shit.
Yeah, I know they do that with. I've seen that pop up more and more, especially for TV shows too. A lot of that's just MOD.
I hate MOD. But hate it.
Yeah,
the packaging. I don't like. Once in a while, I'll have a disc that either plays wonky or doesn't play, freezes up. I can't stand MOD.
Yeah, no, I mean I won't admit to doing it, so I'll say allegedly I may have downloaded some of my shows because they're only available on MOD discs, and I don't want to deal with it. It's easier to download It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is one of my shows, and
the last
those guys.
I've been buying all those seasons. I noticed the last 2 were MOD discs. That annoys me.
And they just. Right, and they don't care. And I've bought all of them. I have the DVDs going back to season 1 that I bought in 2007 when they were just starting out. Love their stuff, but it's almost like I don't know how to support you guys at this point because there's nothing for me to purchase. I mean, I'm not going to buy your MOD discs, and there's nothing for me to buy. I mean, I guess I can buy like a T-shirt or something, but you've given me no content to purchase to support you. But that's where you go the route of piracy.
That comes back to Disney, which they're saying, well, look, if you want to watch Sunny in Philadelphia, then you have to subscribe to, as long as you keep paying that $9.99 to Hulu, it'll always be there for you. But it's just not the same. It's just not the same. I mean, there's just something about not being tethered to the internet in order to watch a film, and as well as I know, and especially with 4K, just it's slight, but there's a difference in the quality of the streaming quality, whether it be 1080p or 2160.
Well, yeah, and then still depending on where you live, the internet infrastructure in a lot of places is still terrible. And if you've got a family of 4 or 5 and you got kids gaming and they're on their phones, it's like you can't stream a 4K movie. It's just it's gonna buffer the whole time. You're not gonna have a strong enough connection, and that'll get better. But at the same time, there's, like you said, I guess I can pay $9 to Hulu every month and it will always be there. But then I say, will it always be there? Because
it depends.
It may disappear.
No, well, an example of Netflix for the stuff that they produce. Yeah, that stuff will be there, but
Yeah.
like licensed product, you know, for a while, Friends in The Office was on Netflix. Now The Office is on Peacock and Friends is on HBO Max. Like,
Right.
you know, I don't know.
It's
I
become
agree with
so
you. And then
disjointed.
if it's catalog titles like MGM or Sony, they're all over the place. Like there's
Right.
no, you don't know where. If you were to ask me right now where James Bond is exclusively streaming, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
And
know.
that
I
would be
couldn't
this,
tell you.
like Jaws is my favorite movie, and if you ask me where that is, I have no
Yeah,
clue.
I
It
mean, I
was
would
on Netflix at one
assume it's
point.
on Peacock because Peacock is owned by
Universal.
Universal, but that might not be the case. But
Right. I have no idea.
owning that on disc, I don't have to worry. It's
Oh.
you don't have to worry about it. And what
Oh yeah.
it's great,
It's in the closet behind me. I know right where it is.
uh, my son, who's great, he loves, he loves watching older films or newer films. He's not a snob. He doesn't look at something like, oh, that's old. A good movie's a good movie.
Love it.
Being that there's no more video stores, it's nice to have, essentially the same movies you'd find in a video store in my basement. And we can, we'll set up film festivals and we'll watch all torture porn movies for a week. And then we'll do, or sometimes we'll pick, we'll go through a director's, we went through all of Quentin Tarantino's movies in order. We went through all Kevin Smith's movies in order. And it's just really fun. The great thing about physical media, and if you own those titles, it's just really fun to be able to do that. Like if you wanted to watch with streaming all of Kevin Smith's movies, where would you even begin to do that? I guess you'd end up buying them and renting them on iTunes. I don't know, or cable VOD, but and Dogma, as we all know, is gone. And
Right.
I can
Good
tell
luck
you right
getting that.
now, we had Dogma for a brief time. Had to give it back. I'm not going to get into the details of what happened, but I'm hard pressed to believe that may never. I can tell you right now, there's a good chance that might never come back. Not for a long time.
It's crazy.
That could change. I know that there's some people out there trying to save that film. I was one of them, but that's why that's a great example of a movie. And the importance of physical media and buying and supporting these titles, because there are some movies that are going to go away and they're not coming back.
Yeah, that's probably that. There were a few that were like that level, and I think a few of them have come out, and that's sort of the one unicorn left out there that I immediately think of that when I got in. It's such a mess with
was that. And well, listen, there's several titles owned. Whose name I won't say, but there's several titles owned by the same entity that owns Dogma, including Kids by Larry Clark, the Samuel Bronson catalog, and others that may never be released on any format, let alone physical.
Yeah, and it's sad because then they just get, they're erased. They're gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
And I guess that's all you who have a Blu-ray copy of Dogma. You're very lucky. I don't have one myself. So,
I see guys on TikTok finding them all over. Like I have, like, you go to my TikTok feed, it's all people buying Blu-rays or in thrift stores and stuff. It seems like everybody on TikTok's finding them rather easily. I'm starting to think that they're bringing their own copy to a thrift store, putting it in there, and like, oh my God, dude, look what I found. I believe that could be the case.
It's all for the content, right?
All for the content.
That's the place to look, though. Like you said, you're not gonna find that anywhere. So you got to go to a flea market or a thrift store, or pawn shop. That's your only chance, and that's true for probably too many movies right now. That's
listen, if I can figure out a way to make that happen, believe me, I would. It would be out by now. When we did the deal for Fahrenheit 9/11, we were working on the same deal with Dogma. And as you know, Fahrenheit, we put out Fahrenheit 9/11 on Blu-ray, and obviously we didn't do Dogma. So
yeah, so that's where I wonder: are there any you obviously know a lot of people in this industry. Are there any rumblings of Touchstone, Fox, anything
No,
getting
I don't know. I know,
outsourced?
not that I know of. No, I mean, I
See,
would
that's
kill
what's
to.
yeah,
I mean, we don't have any deal with Disney. I know that I can tell you that the of the Touchstone titles that are available through Kino Lorber, if you haven't bought them yet, I would suggest buying them. Do I think they're going to get renewed? I don't know, but I don't think that they're going to be available forever.
yeah.
So, and I
That's the
don't think
feeling I get
Disney,
too.
yeah, I don't think Disney, listen, Disney's going all in on Disney Plus and Hulu. And I don't think, you know, I don't think Disney's committed to supporting their deep catalog, especially,
Yep.
of the Touchstone label and the Hollywood Pictures label. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, I mean they won't even release stuff right now that's been finished
Yeah.
because they could have put out Heat on 4K 2 years ago and it's done. It's sitting there. All they've got to do is put it on a disc.
Which one? Heat?
Yeah. I
Oh,
mean
the Michael
it's
Mann movie?
complete. Yeah.
Wasn't that Warner? Oh, that did switch over to Fox, didn't it?
Yeah. And Fox put out a 4K mastered Blu-ray and then they announced a 4K. There was a date and
That's
everything.
right.
And when they
That's
got
right.
they just killed it. And it's sitting there. I mean, it's just waiting to be released, but they're not going to do it as far as I've heard. It's just been killed off. And they've done that to a couple of other movies.
The holy grail of Blu-ray and 4K is The Abyss and True Lies, which
Right.
I'll
People
say
ask me
this,
about that
and I've heard
daily.
nothing. I don't know anything, but with Avatar 2 coming out in December, if there was any time to put those out, especially because James Cameron's going to be doing a lot of press, this would be the year. Will it? And I don't know. Like I'm not like trying to throw a hint that I know something. I don't know anything. I'm hoping.
Well, The Abyss is. I mean, I know The Abyss is done too, but whether it's
we
been
all
approved,
who knows?
I don't know. He's one of those guys that I've heard who gets, and probably rightfully so, gets final say on everything, and it's not going out the door unless he's watched the whole thing and said, "This is how I want it to look." So where he's making 15 Avatar sequels or whatever it is, he probably hasn't had the time to do any of that, and that's why I think they're sitting there. But you're right. I mean, now would be the time to capitalize.
It would not be a waste of Disney's time or money to put those out.
Right.
And I think obviously, there's elements of True Lies that probably haven't aged incredibly well.
Sure.
And I don't know if they're sensitive to that or whatever, but I hope, that there's that. And I think Red Sonja, which I don't know if that's Fox or maybe Warner Brothers that owns that, but there's two Schwarzenegger titles right there that have never been released on Blu-ray.
Yeah, no, it is. It's incredible when
not in the U.S. anyway. Red Sonja has come out in other countries.
Yeah, but there's so many in so many big Schwarzenegger movies. There's Michael Bay movies. There's and these are not just indie guys who made a couple movies and fell off. These are your biggest names in the industry who can't get their movies on a Blu-ray disc, and it's crazy. But I mean, I'm hopeful that Disney just, I don't know what the harm is, sell that catalog, release the rights, sell it to somebody like an MVD who can do something great with it. I mean, I don't see what the harm is. So I keep preaching it.
What was the movie that did it for you? Like, you obviously saw a movie or something as a kid, whether it was on a rental at a video store or at the movies. What was the movie that made you made your eyes burst open? Like, oh my God, this is for me.
It's probably Jaws. I watched that way too young. I was maybe 6, and I was also on Cape Cod, so my grandparents had a house that was 10 minutes from the beach. At the time, there were not great white sharks swimming up and down the coast of the Cape. It was pretty unknown, but I mean, I lived that life in the summer. We'd go there a few times a week, and it didn't faze me. I'd go to the beach and not think about it because I was 6, but That is the movie that I watched over and over again at that Cape House on VHS. It
That's
was
great.
that, and then it was the original King Kong,
So
which
funny.
as a kid was just blew me away. Like I have those two posters
No,
are out in the
it's just
hallway leading into my
it's
room.
so weird because you literally named the first two movies that I saw, the 1976 King Kong or the 1933.
I'm 1933 all the way
Oh,
back.
okay. There's a difference here. For me, it was Jaws, King Kong, and arguably, I was like, wait a minute. That's when I stood up and took notice. And by the time you get to Grease and Close Encounters, I had known at that age that whatever I did in my life was going to have something to do with movies.
Yeah, those Close Encounters is a big one for me too. All those Spielberg movies.
I'll take any of them. He's one of the Scorsese, Spielberg, Michael Bay. I mean, these are just like, if they make anything, I'm going to the movies to see those. I'm going to buy them on disc. Like, it's just, no matter what they make, they can't make a bad movie.
Yeah, but I think I guess I'm a Universal guy because I think they have King Kong.
Yeah,
as
they do.
Well, I don't. So when I was I had grandparents at the house in the Cape, but they had a house in Florida. So in the winters, I was at Universal Studios. So it was like you'd go on the Jaws ride, which they've now shut down, which sucks because that ride was super cool. But I'm on that as like a 5 or 6 year old, the King Kong thing. So I was just like, I just loved it. I just loved the movies and it was always the old stuff, which is kind of funny. I'm now going back and watching all these movies in the 90s that I should have been watching growing up because I was watching Close Encounters and E.T. and Jaws and King Kong. And I had all these like old classics that my grandparents had around on VHS. And that's what I watched.
Yeah, but they're good movies and they're timeless.
They're great.
If it wasn't for the 1976 King Kong, which I saw as a very young kid, I wouldn't have sought out the 1933. You know what I mean? Like, every movie's a gateway to another movie. For me, at least, it is. Every movie's a gateway to another movie, especially if it's
no, it is.
If I discover a new filmmaker, I want to go back and see all that other. If I haven't seen them already, discover that. I want to see what else have they made. There's just something about. And this lends itself to physical media. There's just something about having a section on your shelf for a filmmaker and being able to start with movie one and go all the way up to the present.
Yeah, I think John Carpenter's probably my guy for that.
Yeah,
and that's what got me into horror when I was maybe 9 or 10, and they'd run them on AMC. Obviously, the TV cuts, but that's when I think my mom, she likes horror movies, and she was like, "Hey, you should watch this one." And we'll watch the TV cut. It is what it is. I'm 9 years old, but that sucked me in. And then I became a horror fan and I dove into everything slasher movie, everything John Carpenter. That sold me on that. So that was very transformative too.
Diverse in why he's got a very wide filmography, which is great about his stuff too.
And they're all just awesome. I mean, even the ones that aren't so great, I can appreciate.
I'm ashamed to admit it, I just recently bought. What was his last film he directed? The Ward. Have you? It's from 2010, I think. I just bought it.
I have that one.
I just bought it. I haven't watched it yet.
I think that was
part
the
of me.
Last
Like, I'm a little afraid. But listen, even a mediocre John Carpenter movie is still a pretty good John Carpenter movie.
Well, I can't remember. I don't know if he did the music. As long as he's doing the score for it, you're going to get something out of it. Yeah.
I saved I have my original vinyl soundtrack for Halloween and Halloween 3, which I've saved.
Those are awesome. Yeah, I've had to rebuy. I've bought the new ones, the re-releases from I think Sacred Bones put them out. Somebody put them out. But I've scooped all those.
Halloween 3 is a better, as far as I guess when the experience on vinyl, I'm going to say Halloween 3 is a better. If I had to sit down and listen, I'd almost rather listen to Halloween 3 than Halloween.
That's a very underrated movie too.
Oh, come on. Of course it is.
I
I
love
I
that movie.
I heard Blumhouse wants to make a sequel slash reboot, and I'm all for that.
I say go for it. Yeah, why
I'd
not?
be all for that. I think that was I saw that in the movies and loved it back then. I wasn't disappointed that it, even though I knew going in, even though it was called Halloween, that it wasn't a Mike Myers movie. And
Right.
man, it just felt like a great Twilight Zone episode. I don't know. It's a really good
Yeah.
movie.
No, it's a great concept, and I think if they had stripped, if it wasn't attached to Halloween and people had to lump it in with that whole franchise, and you just called it Season of the Witch, I think it would have been one of the best. Everyone would say, "Oh my god, it was one of the best
I
horror
think
movies of the '80s."
I don't I you know, listen, they could go back in time and do it differently, would they? I don't know. I mean, but I'm glad it exists.
Oh yeah, it's great. I love it. So I'm all in on all those and all the '80s horror stuff, which is why I've dove so deep into. I mean, there's a lot of MVD stuff. There's a lot of Arrow Video stuff, which you guys are obviously distributing here in the U.S. And
Yeah, what was great about and you probably it doesn't apply to the way things get made today. What was great about the '80s and '80s horror is when the back then studios weren't getting their catalogs out fast enough, so they started churning out these lower budgeted direct to video horror movies just to feed the video market. And
yeah,
you look back now, and there's a lot of movies that maybe it came back even back then where I'm like, oh, this is so stupid, and maybe I didn't have an appreciation for it. And then I'll look at like some of the stuff that Arrow's put out. Excuse me, stuff that didn't get its due the first time around, or was treated like direct to video schlock. That Arrow's just done these amazing releases, worth every. I don't mind spending $27.99 or $30 on Hell High. I think they just announced or whatever, because I mean, like I just remember that being like the kind of movie that had this horrible, cheesy cover on VHS, and now they're giving it the proper release. 35 years later, it's great.
it is. No, that's. I thought I knew horror movies, and then I started collecting. I didn't start collecting movies till I think 2013, 14. Wow. I came in late to the game. I mean, we had VHS and DVDs in my house, but I did not have my own collection until I was in college, and I started going and picking stuff up. And I was like, okay, no, I don't know anything about horror. I've missed 99% of what's out there. And that's what's so great about these labels.
My entry, like I started collecting, I'm trying to think officially, I started buying there's a format called CED, which were like the big discs in the plastic cases you put in the machine. It's so funny. I just found a CED player in a box at a flea market, which is in the trunk of my car. I haven't plugged it in yet, and I bought it. I don't need it, but I bought it. Eventually, it'll come out of my car. I'm going to hook it up. But around 1988-ish, I went into a video store, National Video, to rent Rambo 3. Or I went in to get my new releases. And back then it was on a Thursday. And it was like fall, I think it was fall of '88. And I became friendly, of course, with the owner of the video store. And I paid for my rentals. And then he's like, goes under his counter and he puts two or three tapes on there. He's like, hey, do you want to take these home and watch them? I'm like, what are they? I'm like, one of them was a Rambo 3 screener, and 2 other horror movies. He's like, watch these, tell me what you think. And I said, for free? And he's like, sure. So he lent me these movies for free, and I watched them. I brought them back. I told him like what I thought, if he should carry them or not. But when I brought him back, I'm like, well, where do you get these? He's like, oh, well, the distributors and the studios send us these for free in order for us to watch and decide if we want to buy it or not. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you work for the studio, you'll get free copies of movies, or the distributor? And he's like, yeah. And like a light bulb went off in my head.
Yep.
By 1989, I had a job at a video store. By 1990, I was working for Schwartz Brothers Video Distributors, and then like that. The idea of getting free movies is literally because I was spending like all my. I would not eat when I was in high school. I wouldn't eat lunch. I would save my lunch money to go buy used copies of movies at the video store. I mean, that's how crazy it was.
Mm-hmm.
So the thought of getting free movies was literally what got me into this business. And by
It is
yeah,
one of the best perks of anything that I've done on YouTube. Yeah, the channel's grown, and okay, yeah, there's some money coming in, and that's all cool, but there's still nothing better than getting something really cool in the mail for free that I get to review.
It's the best feeling ever.
It's one of the best perks of this.
And like you open it up like free movies. I mean,
it's the best perk of doing this.
The best part of my job is I get to comb through and search for movies that I want to buy. Like literally, there are nights where I'm on the internet. It'll be 2 a.m. and I'm like looking up movies to buy. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not out on disc. Next thing you know, I'm over at IMDb Pro. I'm making note about who's the producer, like, you know, who do I contact? And then I start sending emails. I say, hello, my name's Eric. I work for MVD Entertainment. Is this movie available for licensing? I mean, there are several movies that I've picked up. I'm trying to think which ones. I'm looking at my stack here. Like, I don't know, Savannah Smiles, where I tracked down the director, the writer, director, and star of the film. He got back to me and licensed me his movie. And that's what I'm saying.
Awesome.
A collector, you have a collector here that's literally in the driver's seat in regards to like, if there's a movie that's not out on video and I can get to it, especially when I say I can get to it, it's not owned by like Disney. You can bet that if I can get to it, I'm going to do a nice release and put that out.
That is some days when I'm browsing the internet, I wish I had that power because I could, I could certainly say, wow, this one would really sell well if we put some cool artwork together and got this out there. And why doesn't it have a release? So that is a very cool thing.
But as collectors, we get through social media, I get a lot of requests and stuff. Can you put this out?
Sure.
Can you put that out? But you have to understand, like, you have to pay attention to the label. So we know that Shout Factory does Sony and Universal stuff. So if it's a Sony Universal title that's not out, hit up Kino, hit up Shout Factory, hit up Mill Creek, you know.
Arrow's been doing a lot of Universal lately, too.
Pay attention to who's putting the studio stuff out. You know, with me, you can hit up. We have a deal with MGM, so you can hit me up with MGM stuff. You know, but like for me, like I would love to have that Jerky Boy. I bring up the Jerky Boys again. I would love to have the Jerky Boys, the movie, out on disc. So you know, go to the Disney website, find their customer service. Email them, tell them you want it. You know, maybe if they won't put it out, maybe they'll license it to somebody. Who knows? But you know, make your voice heard. And I love it when I don't mind at all when people send me suggestions. And you know, if I can get to the movies, I'll certainly put them out.
Oh, that's what I tell people all the time. You know, nothing's ever going to happen if we all just sit here quietly and go, oh, well. Guess we're never getting that Disney movie. You know, tell them because all it takes is one person to see that email and go, "Hey, wait, we could sell that catalog for X amount of dollars. Don't have to do a thing. Just license them over."
That's not a bad idea. That's what MGM does. They're like, "Look, we're not in the MGM's no longer in the business of doing their own physical media," and I applaud them for trusting labels like us and Shout Factory and Kino with their valuable movies and allowing us to put them out. So
No, that's the biggest thing. That's the openness of an MGM or even now Universal and Sony and a lot of big players to allow somebody to do that. That is what's
I love that Disney. Sony and Universal's giving titles to Arrow. I do. I think Arrow. Listen, I'm proud of the work that I've done for MVD, but I bow down to Arrow. I mean, like no one does it like Arrow. I mean, Arrow's the best in the business, and I'm proud to be associated with them because MVD, you know, we're their North American distribution partner, and I'm proud to be associated with them. But they are just, I can't say enough how, I don't need to tell you how great they are. They know they're great.
No,
thank God somebody like that exists, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, wow. I can't. This is a good conversation.
I know.
Good
Well,
development.
listen, we can always do a part two.
I would definitely want to do a part two. I
Yeah,
did want to ask one thing
sure.
before we sign off. Is sort of you're in the business, so I do want to ask, like, how what do you see as the future? And I compare physical media and movies a lot of times to vinyl and how that's revived. Now, I know you guys have, you've got some of that too, and you see what's going on in music. And I'm just curious, like, what is the future for physical? Because I have people telling me, and I tell them I don't agree. They're like, oh, it's done. You got a couple years left max, and I'm like, I don't think so. Vinyl was zero. Vinyl was dead and made a comeback. This is not a dead industry. So how can we be calling it dead before it's, we're not at zero.
Yeah.
It's still $1 billion industry. So where's it go from here, I guess?
I think the physical media will settle down to a number, and it will maintain as long as that number maintains. There'll always be a business for it. What concerns, kind of like what we talked about earlier, what concerns me are those are the smaller movies, that may get left behind in the bigger studio catalogs.
Sure.
I think that the collector's market. I believe the physical media is not going anywhere. I think it's going to become what Laserdisc was in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean? There were people that were willing to pay like $50 for Die Hard on Laserdisc, or
Right.
even better, which I still have them. Like my box sets for Platoon and Cuckoo's Nest and Aliens and Terminator. I mean, these were $150 box sets. That's why when Arrow will put out like some of the suggested retail prices on some of their titles they seem kind of high, but if you've been in the business as long as I have, or been collecting as long as I have, I mean, those prices don't surprise me, because that's what, I paid when I had no money. I scrounged together or put it on credit, which I didn't have the money, which I'm sure, I pulled out a credit card, which I didn't have the money to pay the bill. But like literally that Terminator 2 box set was like a $200 box set. Everything in that Laserdisc box set is on the $6 Blu-ray that you can buy on Amazon. But man, back then it was $200. And if you wanted that, director's cut and all those bonus features, that's what you paid. I think it's going to be like that. I think that it'll continue. There will be a continued business on physical media for collector's product. I'm hoping the titles, will it be bigger, just bigger titles? I don't know. As long as somebody like me's in this business and I can get my hands on some of the more obscure titles, I'll make sure that they get a proper release. And even if I can't, I have one title that I have from MGM, which I'll tell you, and people will say, oh, when you're putting it out. So I think Ski School, which is very difficult to have anybody like. So I haven't announced that yet. So yeah, that's your exclusive.
Hey,
I can't, like, Paul Feig is in the movie. Yep. I cannot. I have desperately reached out and tried. It's funny, if you follow my my Twitter page, you'd see a lot of, like, no one follows me on Twitter. You can tell by what I'm going to announce by my publicly reaching out to Paul Feig on my Twitter feed saying, "Hey, will you do an interview for Ski School?" I've even a title like that, it's funny, that would have been out already. I'm trying desperately to do bonus features. I'm not getting any luck. Either everyone's dead or there are guys like Paul Feig who are just not interested. And I get, like, I'll ask you, like, if I do a rewind of a title like Ski School and all it has is a trailer, but I price it at 15 or 20 at the most. If I price it at $20, you'll be able to buy it on Amazon for $12 or $10. Yeah. I mean, that I'm just afraid, like, people are like, what? No features? Like, there are titles. I have a long list of titles I'm working on, and the problem is I'm trying to get the either existing features that might exist if it was a previous release, or make new features. And depending on the age of the movie, it's not easy. The other challenge, I'll tell you, with MGM is when you do a commentary or do a new interview, and I don't begrudge MGM for this. their legal team has to look at it. They have to make like it's a little more difficult when you're working with a studio when you make bonus features. It can be more challenging sometimes. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be a collector's market. I'm just talking my ass off here. So
no, I think that's where I'm with you. It is. It's going to be a collector's market, and and you know what though? If you have to release a movie and you can't get special features for it, but it's something like that's never had a good.
It's never been released on physical media at all.
If it's 12 or 13, I mean, people will buy it.
Make it cheap. That's what I try to like. Even when I did like the Nemesis triple feature, they have I think maybe each one has one. There's a short interview with the director Albert Pune, if I'm saying his name right, and like I literally this has like you can buy this on Amazon for $15 or $14, but it's a triple feature. I didn't want to mix these movies in with Nemesis 1 because I think Nemesis 1 deserved its own release. But what I try to do is if I don't have a lot of features, or here's another one. This one doesn't. This double feature did not have a lot of features on it, but I priced it. I priced it lower. So I don't want people to think that we're ignoring. I don't want people to think that I would regularly put out a film that didn't have features. But
but I mean, it's got to be tough for more obscure stuff, and like you said, I mean, people got to be alive first of all, and then people have to be willing to come on and talk, and it's tough. I know it's a lot of work that goes into it, which is why I hope collectors, everyone who's listening to this, I know I will, like, we're just going to keep supporting this stuff because it is just great for somebody to take good care of a movie that deserves it, whether it's the best movie in the world or not. People have connections to these movies, and it's important.
I mean, there's something. I mean, like when I picked. I mean, the reason why I picked Dirty Laundry, it's not that I don't love listen, it's not my favorite movie, but this is one of those titles that literally was just, anytime I went into a video store as a kid, it was just sitting on the shelf and it looked like Police Academy. Right. And I'm like, when it became available, I was like, you know what? I will put that out, and it sold okay. Yeah. Not great. I wish more people would buy it. It's a dumb movie, but it's a good kind of dumb. But
well,
I don't know.
I'll say we're gonna put some links down here on this podcast, and you've got the collectors listening to this one because I assume that's what 98% of my listeners and watchers are. They're fellow collectors, so go check it out. You got MVDshop.com, right? That's where I usually go for stuff.
You can shop. MVD Shop is good for when we have sales. When we're not having like a direct to consumer sale, the prices are. I'm leaning down here. I dropped some. When we're not having a direct to consumer sale, the prices are a little higher. But be on the lookout. Always be on the lookout for when we have a sale, because usually I oversee a lot of those, and I make sure that I'm urging our label partners to be aggressive with the pricing, because I want our customers and collectors to be able to pick some stuff up at cheap prices. And I usually press them hard for good pricing.
That's where I've scooped up a lot of mine, is the MVD shop sales. So I'll put a link there, and people can, I assume there's like probably an email list or something people can sign up for.
Yeah, I think so on the website. And then, of course, you can, the MVD Rewind collection, you can follow us on Facebook.
Yep.
If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Indie Producer, INDEE Producer. And that's also my name on TikTok. I'm going to start doing more Blu-ray and collector stuff on TikTok. I did a few of them, but I just don't have the time because I'm old, and
it's a commitment. But the market's there. I mean, I've got 60,000 followers on TikTok now, so
and and get the Violence movie. Watch it if you haven't bought this yet. It's dirt cheap on Amazon on DVD. It has the Violence movie and the Violence movie 2.
Sweet,
so
love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll put all those links. People go support. He's doing good work over here, and he's doing a lot of it by himself. So go support the guy.
If you had to, let me plug this. If you had to watch anything that I've written or produced, I would highly recommend The Man from Earth. Is just a really good science fiction drama. And this one doesn't get a lot of love. Mischief Night. I co-wrote and produced this movie. I'm really proud of it. You know, it's Mischief Nights the Night Before Halloween. It's a little derivative. It's a home invasion thriller, but I don't know. I love it. I'm super proud of that movie, and I would be honored if you watch it or any of your followers watch it.
Definitely. Yeah. So we'll link everything. We'll make sure we support, and I appreciate the time because I know I think I pitched you 45 minutes and we're at an hour 15.
Dude, you get me talking about movies, man. I'll talk forever.
Hey, that's my problem too. I always say 45 and then I'm like, I got to be respectful of people's time.
No, you're totally respectful.
I could go for 3 hours.
So could I. Yeah, I mean, I love. It's not just talking about them. I'm so into collecting, and I have no problem sitting, and having long conversations about collecting. And I'll go. It's like I don't even think we had an agenda. We just start talking, and then like boom, it just happens.
That's the beauty of it.
It is.
Yeah, if you get two people together who appreciate movies, and especially we're both collectors. I mean, that's what this is. That's what I want to do in this podcast. Just have conversations, and things will come up as we go. I didn't want to. I'm not. I said like I'm not Barbara Walters. I can't structure an interview, so we're just going to talk.
No, it's what a podcast is for. Just two geeks talking about collecting movies, man.
Absolutely. So I appreciate it. Check all those links in the description, guys. Go support MVD and everything they're doing, and go support Eric and his movies as well. So
thank you.
We'll link everything, and yeah, I appreciate it. We'll have to do a part two at some point.
We'll absolutely do a part two. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it. And I'll close out the interview, and I'll talk to everybody in 1 second with our outro.
Cool.
So thanks for coming on, Eric.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Eric. Like I said, he's so knowledgeable. He has so much information. I got some really good insights there myself while talking to him about how the rights are being passed around with MGM and Amazon, with Disney and Fox and Touchstone, and sort of which studios have rights to certain boutique Blu-ray labels, and how he goes and gets rights and discovers new movies or reaches out to people through IMDb. Like, it's a really interesting process, and he's doing the vast majority of it himself. So it's really impressive, and what he's doing for home entertainment and physical media is really, really cool. So make sure you go support him. I'll put all the links to MVD's stuff. I'll put the links to his videos. And I do just want to clarify one thing, because after we talked, Eric realized he actually made a slight mistake in his little exclusive announcement. There's a movie called Ski School that came out in 1990, but there's also a movie called Ski Patrol. Ski Patrol is actually what's being released on the MVD label soon. So it's not Ski School, like he said. He mixed them up. It's Ski Patrol, and that's a Films at Home exclusive. So nobody knows about that one yet. You guys are the first ones to find out that Ski Patrol is coming to Blu-ray. So I appreciate him giving us the little scoop on that. And I just really appreciate him taking the hour to talk just movies and everything. This guy is definitely one of the most knowledgeable people I've met in this industry and about movies as a whole, especially some of the obscure, VHS releases that have been out there that, a lot of people don't know about. This guy has a catalog in his head of movies, and it's insane. So I'll definitely have him back for more if you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully you did. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed here. Make sure you're following along, have your notifications on. Like this video so others will see it. And if you're on the audio version and listening along, well, make sure you give us a quick 5-star rating and follow the podcast on whatever platform you use, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, whatever you're on. Give us a quick little rating. It helps us raise up those podcast charts and hopefully crack the top 100 for TV and film. So I appreciate all the support. It's been awesome having you guys all watching and listening this, and many more great guests to come. In fact, next week, I'm actually talking to Matt Patterson, who used to work at Warner Archive before they sort of closed their doors. And he has a ton of experience in the home entertainment and movie industry as well. We're going to talk Warner Archive, physical media, what the future is for these things, behind the scenes at Warner. It's going to be a really cool interview. So make sure you're following along for that one. Make sure you follow us on social media. All those links will be in the video description and the audio description. And other than that, have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and I will talk to you all soon.
Coming soon. Be sure to subscribe to the Films at Home podcast using your favorite app so you don't miss another episode. And while you're there, don't forget to rate and review this podcast, which helps us out tremendously. You can also help support us by watching our short-form content over on YouTube and TikTok by searching Films at Home. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at films_at_home. The intro and outro were created by Elin Osborne. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.